In 1910, the United States was facing dual crises. In one corner, invasive water hyacinths were choking American waterways in the Gulf states, blocking shipping and eliminating fish. In the other corner, America was facing a major meat shortage after butting heads with the Meat Trust. In a desperate attempt to restore order, U.S. Representative Robert F. Broussard of Louisiana was willing to try anything. With the help of these two guys, Russell Burnham and Captain Fritz Dukens, as well as two guys from the Department of Agriculture, Broussard proposed importing wild and domestic animals from around the world into America. Known as House Resolution 23621, or the American Hippo Bill, the bill would have authorized the importation of hippos and a bunch of other African animals to the United States, specifically the Gulf states that were plagued by water hyacinth. In theory, this bill would kill 2 mosquitoes with one swat. The hippos would eat the water hyacinth, and the Americans would eat the hippos. To butter up American appetites to this new strange animal, the men compared hippos to bacon, a product that's irresistible to many Americans. A year prior, at a meeting of the American Breeders Association, hippos were described using the South African term Zico spek, or lake cow bacon. And in Broussard's own statement, he says that hippos in Africa are made into bacon and used as bacon. Presumably under this new bill, Americans would have been eating hippo bacon alongside their pancakes every morning. Of course, not everyone was swayed by the idea of hippo bacon, and Charles F. Scott, the chairman of the Committee of Agriculture, had a lot of questions. He wanted to know whether hippos were easily domesticated, whether they would become a pest if let loose, how much they would breed, how they would taste, whether white men liked them. Yeah, that was a serious question back then, because all these dudes were white. How big they get, what they eat, and the logistics behind confining them to rivers and streams. Some answers seem to be based on anecdotal evidence rather than scientific evidence, but for the most part, the answers were pretty straightforward. Naturally, the press went insane, and the headlines were even more so. The focus was mostly on whether or not the reader could stomach hippo meat, although some papers did highlight the water hyacinth issue. In the end, the American Hippo Bill barely failed to pass, and that was probably for the best. First off, hippos are insanely aggressive, and they can and do kill anyone wandering in their territory. So, if you wanted to paddle a canoe in the bayou, you'd be in serious trouble. Secondly, it's usually not a good idea to introduce non-native species to a new environment. Just like how the water hyacinth, which is native to the Amazon basin, took over American waterways, hippos could have also become invasive. I mean, you're solving a problem with another problem. Here's an example. In Colombia, 4 hippos owned by infamous drug lord Pablo Escobar were left on his estate after his death in 1993. By 2007, these hippos had multiplied to 16, and by 2020, their population had exploded to over 90 hippos. Now, these feral Colombian hippos are harassing fishermen, killing cattle, and frightening villagers. Yikes! Lastly, since water hyacinths are South American plants, how could these men have expected African hippos to eat them? Nowadays, water hyacinths have invaded many other continents, including Africa, and hippos are not known to eat them there. Maybe these dudes just assumed hippos would eat any type of aquatic plant. I don't know. Anyways, that's the story of how hippos were almost introduced to America. Could you imagine hippos living in the swamps and bayous of Louisiana and Florida? Would you eat hippo bacon? Leave your thoughts in the comments. For more nature and adventure videos, like this video and subscribe to Tidewater Teddy. Thanks and have a great day.